that don't want what we know out there.
How a person can go from really almost nothing to becoming a millionaire by owning rental properties.
He would always buy these flip houses, and I just remember thinking, this guy is crazy. Why would he buy that house?
In the past decade, there's been a huge surge in the peer-to-peer short-term rental market.
Become an insider. So you have to know the rules before you get in the game.
Every second counts. So make every second count.
Welcome to the Real Estate Jam. Whether you're just beginning or the best of the best, we're glad you're here. We will share successes, failures, and strategies for the action-taking real estate investor. And now to your hosts, JD and Melissa.
Hey guys, welcome to the Real Estate Jam podcast. I'm JD with my wonderful co-host, Melissa.
Hello, JD.
Hey, how are you doing?
Great. I'm super excited for our guest today.
I am really excited. So we got a real estate superstar, Navy veteran, Mr. Aaron Gaunt. Aaron, well, first, he's the host of the Real Estate Lock podcast. He owns a Million Dollar Wholesaling Company. He's a really awesome dude, and we're gonna love talking to him and hoping that he can drop some nuggets for all of you guys. Aaron, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
No, thanks so much for having me, and thanks for the awesome introduction.
Hey, so I know that there's some of our listeners probably listen to your podcast, but for those that don't, can you give us a little bit of your background and how you got to where you're at today, and then we'll just take the conversation from there.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things to talk about when I come on a show like this is my testimony of how I actually became a real estate, I wouldn't even call it an investor, but in the real estate industry. And how that testimony started, you actually kind of hit it on the head. So I was in the Navy. I'm going to start from basically day one. Back in the Navy, one thing we did is we passed around books while we were on deployment. And we would pass around some pretty cool books. When a sailor would get done with the book, they would hand it to their shipmate and you got to read their book, right? Well, one of the books that got passed around was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Great book, but I was in my mid to early 20s at the time, didn't take any action on that. I was too busy kind of focus on partying, hanging out in San Diego and hitting the nightlife, right? I wish I took the initiative on the things in that book and invested in my wealth, but I didn't at the time. Anyways, skip forward a bunch of years. I got out of the Navy. I was in the fire department. Got in the fire department in San Diego. I met a young lady. I unfortunately and fortunately, we dated for a couple of weeks. Got her knocked up, and she had a child. And wasn't really planning on marrying this individual or anything like that. But unfortunately, so she was knocked up, and she and then a lot of her true colors, just put it that way. I'm not here to bash anybody, but her true colors started coming out, and she ended up fleeing the state in labor. She had this plan to give her up for adoption, all of this. Well, before that too, I knew this kind of writing on the wall that's kind of the direction that we were going. So I did open up a court case at that time. And then right after our first mediation, while she was still pregnant, that's when she fled the state. So in that time, I knew I needed an attorney. And as a fireman, I was making about $80,000 to $100,000 a year, depending on overtime. So my attorney bill started racking up. I looked back and I said, man, I need some money. And that's what we do all as entrepreneurs. We kind of usually start with our 9 to 5, and then we start to think about other creative ways to make money. I was thinking about like opening up a hot dog stand, getting a different job, a second job, all of that, right? Well, anyways, I looked back and I thought up to myself, I said, real estate is going to be my key to get this additional funds to pay for my attorney to fight for my daughter. And long story short, I went back, I picked up the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I reread it and I was like, okay, now how do I get into real estate without no money? And I think that's where we all come in with the wholesaling. So I typed in Google, I typed in how to get in real estate with no money. Wholesaling came up and I got my first coaching program. I put $5,000 on a credit card because remember I had no money. And 2 months later, I got my first deal, made $20,000. And now I run a successful real estate wholesaling business 3 years later. And in that time, I was actually fortunate to win my custody battle And now I do have my daughter full-time, full custody, full physical custody, full legal custody, and I'm a full-time dad. I have a second one on the way with my wife now. And that is my story. And I love always bringing up that story, because if you want to make something happen, think about your why. I know it's cliche, but you always, your why is huge, and your why is what's going to drive you to get that first deal, that second deal, and so forth.
That's a super cool story.
Yeah,
I like that.
that is an awesome story, and it looks like it's a happy ending at this point, right? You got your daughter, you found a wife, you got another kid on the way, and you're running a $1 million investing business, which will allow you the time freedom to spend with your kids. I love that. Love that story. Okay, so I'm wondering now. Okay, so you started out just like everybody, one man show, doing everything. But now to get you to the income level and the operational level that you're at, what does your team look like now?
Oh man. Yeah. I mean, we all wear all the hats in the business. And the cool story is, so I was dating my wife now. And I moved in with her in her condo. And at that time, I set up shop as I was doing my wholesaling business. Because obviously there's a lot more to the story. As I was working in the fire department, working on building a wholesale. I mean, I would literally come back from a fire. I used to do like driving for dollars, right? And I'd pin the properties that were on fire, and we'd be on the engine on for a run. I would look at properties in the neighborhood and we'd market to them, and I'd be taking calls to the fire department. I got in trouble and all this, right? Anyways, the cool thing is, I'm not going to take too much of your time, but what we did is I was able to close on a few deals. I had a mentor at the time say, hey, quit your job. I ended up quitting my job. And it was a pretty cool story as well. I was in the fire bay, refreshed my phone a few times. Once the deals hit the bank account, I was able to go to the chief's office. I said, hey, here's my 2 weeks. I took the rest of my leave and got really big into hitting the ground running. I had a big whiteboard. You could actually go on my Instagram. I got like from year one way back. I had a big old whiteboard in the dining room. We took the dining room table out, big whiteboard, 2 desks, me and my wife. My wife, she was a project manager for another company. And she used to kept asking me, hey, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? So anyways, that's where it started, wearing all the hats. Now at this time where we're at, and again, we're going to continuously grow. We just have a pretty small, lean team at the moment. We're actually going to be scaling really fast this next year. But we have 2 acquisition guys, a dispositions manager, a lead manager, a dispo assistant, a TC, my wife, a few virtual people, such as an admin, stuff like that. So we have we call it our sales side, our fulfillment side. So obviously get a contract. I don't want them to think anymore. We got the fulfillment side, get that situated, get to sell it and all that. So that's kind of that. We're a lean, mean team right now, but literally we're going to be hiring on a few people next week on our sales side. So we're really excited about that. So just a lean, mean team.
Awesome. And in which markets are you operating in? Are you going virtual? Are you belly to belly? What does your business look like?
Oh man. So when I first started, I got told, hey, go in front of these people, get on the couch with grandma, and just talk to the sellers. And I did that for a couple of years. Now I've been in this business 3 years. This is our 4th year coming on, started in 2023. But in the beginning, I was just running around the properties, taking appointments, going to the property, getting the contract at the property. And now this is all in Southern California. So I took a step back and I realized the way I wanted to spend my time was not driving it, because here in Southern California, it takes an hour to get to a city, hour back. And I got a lot of contracts, but then it was just those days where I just didn't get a contract that, just like anything, it was like, man, I just wasted my time when I could have been calling other people and qualifying. So we actually went to all over the phone virtual model. We're very excited. We're just working out well. My acquisition guy, right before we got on this phone, just locked up a contract over the phone. It's just such a limited belief, and obviously you could lock up possibly more deals at a lower discount in person. I get that. But I feel the way we've been doing it, we're able to get volume of contracts and, maybe not as big of deals. I mean, we're still getting actually pretty big deals, but that's just the way we went. And now where we market, we do primary market in Southern California, but we run our PPC and Facebook ads all around nationwide. And we're doing a nationwide model virtually.
Awesome. That's kind of like the debate between sending a handwritten letter or a postcard. Well, it'll take you either time or money to write the handwritten letter, or you could send 3 times as many postcards to contact 3 times as many people, you know, and there might be a specific instance where one deal might be better in person, live. You might get a little bit deeper, but when you're looking at being able to market all over the country and bring in more contracts and run it that way, you know, we've seen a lot of people, especially in our higher level masterminds, that are operating off of that virtual model. I definitely see the benefit there.
Oh, wow. And you talking about the virtual model, are you just talking about just more buying more properties?
Well, more properties, closing more contracts, just overall volume when you're running over the phone closings as opposed to having to drive out, like you said, 2 hours
100%.
to maybe get a contract. Well, you could have made 6 offers over the phone in that same time, or 10, 12.
Oh, 100%. We, so shout out to our PPC company, and this is a gold nugget. I think they're one of the best out there. We use Brandon Bateman Collective. They are crushing it, and they focus solely on PPC and the Google ads and all this other stuff. So they had been working out fantastic for her. We had when the market shifted last year, we went heavily on leaning out, and that's when I got back in the business and also focusing on quality leads. You know, I think a lot of us were, you know, really going after those cheap leads, those texts, cold call, all that. But we cut most of that. We'd still do it to very niche list, but we cut that, and we're dumping all of our funds into PPC and soon direct mail. We really want to focus on quality and not quantity. And because we realized that the lead to contract from PPC right now is 8 to 10 leads to contract. Now that's really good. You got to really have a sense of urgency on that. But anyways, the reason why I bring Brandon Bateman Collective up is the virtual thing. Is he told me when I went virtual, because I started in Southern California, is that he said it's our highest success rates and our highest fail rates. So you really got to have your systems and processes in place when you move a deal. You know, so if you want to go virtual nationwide, you really got to have your fulfillment side, your dispo and TC side in place. Because if you could just get contracts, but you can't move them, then it's no good.
It's just a waste of time. Okay. Well, I'm wondering, you know, because you're getting these leads from all over the country, what are you using for your CRM for to manage your leads? And then what are you doing for data management?
Oh yeah, that's fantastic. So our CRM, we started with Podio, and it was a great CRM. Matter of it was so good. And I went to a mastermind, and a lot of people were using left main Salesforce, so I ended up going over there, and I messed it all up because I thought in my mind on how I wanted it. So that's a terrible time to ask me that question, because I got to go back and get developers in and fix it. But we're using left main right now, Salesforce, and it's great, but here in about a month or two, we got to get some developers in there and fix it.
Okay. And that's for your lead management, or does Salesforce allow you to do data management too?
Yeah. So, and that's another, so we're going to be hiring on a marketing director also this year, which we're very excited about, because I think myself and as a young marketing guy, is we just kind of fire by the hit when it comes to marketing, right? And we were kind of talking about that here prior, and it's just especially as a wholesale company, what are we? The 2 things: we are marketers and we are sales, right? I can't even say I'm a real estate investor, but I stand proud to say that I love running our company, but I need to put a marketing director in place, because we need to really watch out where the numbers are going, how they're looking. I mean, we have our KPIs. Don't get me wrong, we really watch those KPIs, but to have somebody solely focus on that, to look at the mail piece, to look at the quantity going out, to see what the returns are, to see the offers, because even with our texts and cold call, to really do quality management, right? There's so much that goes into. I mean, we need to perfect marketing. We're so focused on perfecting sales and conversion, which is fantastic, but we really need to perfect our marketing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We recently come to the same conclusion, and so we've been this whole week pushing really hard into REI Sift for the data management.
Oh yeah, okay.
And it's something that we've been trying to implement for like a year and a half. We first looked at it like 3 years ago or 2 years ago. Didn't have time, thought we could put one of our VAs on it to work it, and that didn't work out. And it was really just about me being able to sit down and get into it. And so we've started to do that. And I wish I would have jumped back onto it 4 years ago. If I could take a time machine back and actually sit down to do the training, I wish I would have. Just the way that it's laid out, the way that Tyler pushes it out there in the training and what it can actually do, I think is phenomenal. So if you're looking at that kind of stuff, and if you hire a marketing manager, you'll probably be able to, they might have their own systems, but that might be one to look into, because it just like blew my mind, takes the blinders off on the possibilities. So
are you talking about the REI Sift?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're going to see. That's what we see in Left Main once we get it right. Is it'll keep track of all of that. Like I said, I really messed it up, and then we had that market correction, and then just like anybody, we all saw a dip in our company. And the cool thing is we see if you went through the market correction and you came out the other side, which hopefully that's what we're seeing. A lot of people saying it's just the eye of the storm. We don't know, right. But if you were able to make it through, because we saw a lot of people go out of business, but if you're able to make it through, I mean, we're having our best months, right? People are buying again like crazy, multiple offers. And we're so excited that we did make it through those tough times. But I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's the eye of the storm or really coming out. People and buyers are saying, "Hey, this is the new norm." Again, I'm too early. I'm too young in this industry to know. But maybe I'll ask you about that.
Well, the retail side has definitely in the last couple of weeks gone 180 for sure. It's crazy. So we've been super busy on that.
Nice.
Yeah. I think we've been getting more leads on the investment side. We haven't seen a whole lot of buyer uptick, but it never, if you find a good deal that's X% below market, it's gonna move whether the market's high or the market's low. That's our experience.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if we're in the eye of the storm or not. I guess it'll depend on where interest rates go. And if I had to predict, I would say that interest rates will stay about the same, start to fall a little bit until right before the next election cycle, and then they'll drop, to make everything's going good. So, I think that's what you see. If we do see interest rates continue to rise or to start to rise back up, I could see it being the eye of the storm, but I don't predict that that's where it's going to go.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, fingers crossed. But like I said, it's where we're going now. I'm doubling down on everything now. We're definitely doubling down on our marketing. We're doubling down. I gotta get sales guys in here to handle these leads. So yeah, we're gonna make this the record year. I feel like every year has been the record year now, especially when you start beginning, right? Because we've doubled 50% every single year, getting 3 years, right? And then probably after that 5th year, you start to maybe come down a little bit more. But when you start, obviously it looks good.
Sure. So one of the things that you had been talking about in the mastermind in San Diego a couple weeks back that I thought was important was I want if you could give our audience a little bit of insight into your views on leadership, business leadership, and all that kind of stuff, because I thought that was a super value add when you were talking about that at the ICE meet. And I'm wondering if you'd share some of that insight with our listeners.
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, that was my ask, right? How to be a better leader. And it was so heartwarming. I got a bunch of text messages saying I think you're a good leader already. And these are just a couple additional tips. Right. And that was really cool. But, cause we're our biggest critics, right? And as I build my team, my biggest focus, the word of the year is definitely culture, because right now I'm having everybody in-house, right? A lot of people are trying to a lot of people do and try to run these virtual models of having acquisition guys, TC, everybody virtually. And then that works out. That's fine. It's not the way I want to run it, right? Especially this moment, I'm calling it all hands on deck. I need everybody in the office. Communication needs to be, quick. Training needs to be good. One-on-ones are huge. So anyways, culture is going to be it. And I really want to focus on leadership. I had one of my acquisition guys kind of challenge me a little bit, actually, because during our one-on-ones, because I kind of got on them, they were late and stuff, and I said, "Hey, y'all need to be on time," and we got meetings starting, et cetera, right? back up in the military. Like, hey, what are you guys doing? You know, if you're on time, you're late, right? And so, anyways, I was having one of my 101s, and my guy says, "Hey, what do you?" I felt like he was kind of unhappy with my leadership style, so I redirected and I said, "How do you want me to be a leader?" And what that did, instead of me taking offense to it and saying, "You know what, forget him, I am a good leader," whatever, I decided to look at myself and say, "Hey, what can I do to be a better leader and be the best leader to each one of these people individually?" So, I mean, I picked up the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, so I started reading that book. I hired a potential, like kind of like a leadership coach, business leadership coach right now, to how to run a good, effective team. Because I mean, if you read that book too by John Maxwell, right, they got that the lid, right, the law of the lid, and I want my lid to be a lot higher, right? And I thought I was a good leader, being from fire and the Navy and all this other stuff. Well, realize I have a lot to learn. And I know that my team can only go as far as my leadership style is. And so if I build and progress my leadership style, my team is going to hit that $10 million company that I want to see within the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think one of the things is you were asking about how to become a better leader, right? And that was, you were looking at some insight from other investors, other team leaders. And I think people who are poor leaders never ask that question. Just hold out. Right? Like if you are a good leader, you are seeking those kind of answers, and you realize that it's a continual process where you are trying to get better at the skill that's most important for the success of your company. And if you weren't a good leader, you wouldn't have even been asking those questions. You don't care about culture. You don't care about making yourself better so that your team can be better. So I think you do got that going for you for sure. And
I appreciate that.
Proof at the meeting, proof on the podcast that you care about your people and you have big goals and you're willing to push them.
Yeah.
So
yeah. One thing we do too is we're very transparent. You always want to just tell the truth, right? And you want to earn. Another thing I read in the book is really earning their truth. I forgot what law he calls it, but yeah, you got to earn their truth. And I'm like an open book, right? Every time I have my one-on-ones, I'm telling them exactly where I see the vision going, what the numbers are, what everything behind scenes, right? And then I try to ask them, like, what are your thoughts? Where are you going? And stuff like that, because so many times, including myself, is we're constantly getting angry almost of like, why isn't this person hitting their metrics? Why is their EOD look so low? This is that. Because I felt like last year, I went by the rule, fire fast, hire slow. I felt like I was firing too fast because you know what I mean? And so this year, I'm actually taking a look at myself and I'm going to, instead of before I fire, I'm going to see if I can work on them, right? Work on them just a little bit longer. Now, obviously, if there's like big things, right? You're like smoking weed in and we had an incident just like that. Some guy was smoking weed in the bathroom. And I said, "Get the hell out of here." So, anyways, but if they're really trying, and that what's that rule too is if they're 70% as good as you, they're definitely worthy of keeping around. Just keep working with them. Like we have this TC, and I don't think she ever listened to this podcast, but we have this TC, and she's a fantastic individual. But she's just a killer on the phone. She can get price reductions. She's good at giving testimonials, all this stuff. But her admin skills are just not as good in par where we need them to be. So instead of obviously letting her go or whatever, we're going to work on those admin skills. We're going to get those up. And one thing we talked about that the ICE event too is what's it called? The vision boards that we talked about, right? So everybody has their vision board, other things. So I'm able to, and it's something I actually need to go have more one-on-ones with about them, but work on getting them their vision boards. And like I said, for my TCs, her vision is to get her real estate license, and everybody in my office actually has a real estate license. So we have everybody's real estate license on the board, and she sees that she doesn't have a real estate license on there. So she wants to get it. And I was like, all right, well, let's get it, so we'll pay for that to get that for her. And there's some other things as well. So
yeah, we do that too. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other one, which you're a Navy guy, so I'm sure that you've read it before, but the Extreme Ownership book by Jocko Willink.
I have not. I do. I think it's on my bookshelf though. I just make it look cool. I said, look, I got the book.
Well, you need to read the book. It was
okay.
So there's a couple of books that were life-changing in my life. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, #1. If you can't wholesale after this, I Got Nothing for You by Todd Fleming, and then Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink, I think, and then Traction, of course.
Yeah.
But those are really good books, and Jocko's a stud. So I think he's right there in Diego, so you could just stop by his gym.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. But that's one that I would definitely recommend when it comes to leadership and that side of things. It's just a different way of looking at it. And it's there's some military correlations in there. So it's great. Well, if our audience wanted to either, one, find out more about you, connect with you personally, or two, can you tell them where they can go to get you your podcast?
Yeah, for sure. So we post daily on our Instagram, Aaron Gaunt, and on our TikTok, and you can find me on Facebook. Also, check out the Real Estate Block podcast. We'll also have you guys on as well. And go check it out. We're having guests. We're not as seasoned as you guys, and but we're getting up there. And so, but no, again, I couldn't appreciate you guys to have me on here.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, and your podcast is full of high-level real estate investors from across the country. You're part of a couple of different masterminds, and that's definitely access to some higher level thinkers, higher level movers in the real estate industry. So definitely go check that podcast out.
Awesome. Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Jam. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information, check out our website, therealestatejam.com. Or find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at The Real Estate Jam. If you have any questions, feel free to drop us an email at therealestatejam@gmail.com. See you next episode.